Okay, so hello everyone, welcome back to yet another episode of AI and Oats, which is so far my daily episode where I answer AI questions, but usually just end up rambling about AI. But firstly, who am I? Well, I'm Alistair, and if you are new here, which in all likelihood you are, welcome. This is my channel where I teach people how to use Claude Code and Codex for knowledge work and business workflows. But I also run an AI consulting and training company called Dux, and so if you'd like to see how, we could help you identify the AI opportunities within your business and then implement them, or if you'd like to have me coach you one-to-one to help you build out an AI operating system in Claude Code or Codex, then please check out the link in the description. And I also have a school community where I share even more of my AI knowledge and my actual Claude Code skills and workflows and systems and everything like that. So also, if you're interested in that, please check out the other link in the description. But now that the preliminaries are out of the way, let's get into today's questions. So essentially, the way this works is that during the day, I have a Codex automation or a Codex loop that goes and searches various forums for interesting AI questions or AI pieces of news. And then it puts them together into this slide deck, and I come home and I answer them. Ideally, if we were a big enough channel, we would have questions from our comments to answer, but at the moment our size doesn't quite warrant that. So that does mean that if you did comment, I would definitely answer your question, so there's some incentive. Right, on to the first question. Opus 5 blocked my project for a single shell command. Interesting. I guess I'm not sure I can comment specifically on this instance in particular, but I guess this would be related to something about the idea that Anthropic are going to downgrade you if you try to do biological, or I think it's anything to do with biology or cybersecurity or maybe chemistry, I'm not sure. On Fable 5 or Opus 5, they'll downgrade you to Opus 4.8 because they don't want people doing kind of nefarious, dangerous things with their super intelligence or with their highest level of intelligence. Yeah, that is annoying sometimes. I remember when Fable 5 first came out, I asked it to create a demonstration of its potential, and I allowed it to choose the demonstration it made for itself. And what it decided to do was make a population simulator of an island, if you will, a kind of ecology simulator. So different animals, and then the animals were hunted by other animals, so their population would go down, that sort of thing. But halfway through building it said, I'm sorry, I've had to switch back to Opus 4.8 because this is about biology, even though it was the one who decided to make it. So yeah, that is quite annoying. I know my dad is a mathematician, and he was using Fable 5 or Opus 5 or something for his research, and then as far as he could tell, no reason, he got downgraded to Opus 4.8, so he was pretty infuriated about that. And so I guess the thing with these kind of downgrades and that sort of thing is not necessarily the actual immediate thing. Yes, it's annoying in the moment, but also for a lot of things that a lot of people are doing, Opus 4.8 is probably sufficient. But I think it introduces a much kind of, I'm not sure I'd call it maybe I would call it a philosophical consideration, but it introduces a whole new sort of power dynamic of, who gets the right to determine what access, someone has with the intelligence available to them, what they get to apply it to. And I guess that would be another kind of argument that people would make in favor of open weight models, because, you're not going to get... if you're trying to use Kimi K3 for something, it's not gonna, it can't stop you, can't downgrade you to a worse version of Kimi. And yeah, I guess it does. I guess it falls in line with the whole idea of Fable 5 when it was initially, released and then banned briefly. I do think that going forward, the power dynamic of who gets to control intelligence will become ever more important, and something which would need to be quite seriously considered and possibly regulated, because there will be a point, and I guess there already is a point, where if you cut off someone's access to certain form of intelligence through, a certain AI model, you are essentially making them a significantly disadvantaged economic actor in terms of like the productivity they can have. So who gets to make that decision is something that I think needs consideration. So I don't know if that directly answers the question, but I guess it is an interesting sort of ethical debate, if you want to call it that, or at least, something that's very important to consider as AI keeps advancing. But as the, as the models from the frontier labs remain closed source, or remain closed models, and or remain closed and controlled by individual companies. Right, on to the next question. Claude Cowork or Code for image and video generation projects. Right, I have quite a strong opinion about Claude Cowork in generally, which is that I don't see any real reason for anyone really to be using Claude Cowork. And, I think that might get some pushback initially, but I'll make my argument. Essentially, and this is how I understand it, and I think this is correct, Claude Cowork is a nicer user interface with perhaps a few more guardrails over Claude Code as the underlying technology, essentially. And it was made because when Claude Code first came out, basically you'd either have to run it in the terminal or in an IDE. And I guess as people started using it more and more for non-technical use cases, like just general business use cases, there were people who would definitely benefit from using it, but I suppose who were scared to use the terminal. And so Claude Cowork was built as that better user interface. That's my understanding sort of how Cowork came about. When Anthropic then made the update to their desktop app, which probably was, 3 months ago, 4 months ago possibly, where they introduced a Claude Code, it might have been longer than that ago, I suppose I think they've had the Claude Code tab in the desktop app for quite a while, but when they made the update that gave it the new interface where it looked a lot more like Codex, basically, where you could have all your chats down the side. At that point, I think that solves the issue of people having to use the terminal or being scared to use the terminal for using Claude Code. I mean, I almost never really use Claude Code in the terminal now. I almost always use it just in the desktop app. And therefore, I think that there is almost no reason ever to use Cowork, really. And I think that anyone who's kind of properly serious about, managing agents and that sort of thing, using these tools, agentic tools and that sort of thing for whether it's knowledge work or coding, I think anyone properly serious uses Claude Code, especially because if you were already on Claude Code before they released Cowork, you already had like your Claude.md and that sort of thing set up in Claude Code. So there's really if you'd already kind of cracked using Claude Code for knowledge work before Cowork came out, then switching to Cowork, in my opinion, was a bigger pain than just continuing in Claude Code. And that argument for staying in Claude Code was only compounded by the improved user interface that was built for Claude Code in the desktop app. So there's my rant, but that's one opinion I hold quite strongly, is that I really don't see the point of Claude Cowork, and I would encourage everyone to use Claude Code. I think it's more powerful and you can do more with it, and it's just better. For image and video generation specifically, I guess either would work. I don't think it really matters. My argument obviously would be strongly for Claude Code. I mean, the main thing is just make sure you have the correct MCPs set up that are going to help you the most, which basically what you want is going to be some sort of aggregator, I believe they're called, which is going to hold a bunch of image and video gen models in one place, like Nano Banana Pro, ChatGPT Images 2.0, that sort of thing, like Cdance. And so the ones that come to mind would be either Higgsfield or OpenArt, and you just want to make sure they're connected. I was recently doing some video work for a client, actually, helping them show a kind of visual demonstration of what a building project would actually look like when it was built, overlaid on footage of the real area. And so I might make a video going in more detail on how to make AI videos, especially like that, and how to make them reliably. But basically, fundamentally, the main thing is you just want to make sure you have some workflow that will allow you to produce still images of keyframes, whether that's fully AI generated or kind of AI augmented. And then once you have those full frames, the ability then to go from like frame to frame as a video. And Claude can use like some kind of aggregator like Higgsfield or OpenArt to do all of that, as long as you're following that kind of keyframe to clips to full video process. It doesn't matter too much. But to answer the actual question, when it comes to Cowork versus Code, I'd say Claude Code. And I mean, if you want something that has native image generation at the very least, then Codex. But you don't really need native image generation if you can just connect to Higgsfield or OpenArt or some other, image generation MCP. Has Claude Code been mostly usable for you? Funnily enough, last night I was having tons of trouble with Claude Code working, and even this morning I was having a little bit of trouble with it working, but I think that was very much a localized issue on my computer because I was just trying to back up my laptop or something. I feel like it was just using loads of computing power for other things, and I think that's why it wasn't working. So I had to, and actually, to be fair, it did work eventually. It was very slow, but I was using Fable 5, which could have been why it was slow. So I would say, to answer this question, which is, somewhat perhaps not the most interesting for a YouTube video, yes, it generally has been usable for me, but I would say, like, if reliability is a huge concern to you and you need absolute, like, complete reliability that is basically never going to go down, you are probably better off choosing something like Codex over Claude Code, because, it does seem like there are issues with Claude fairly regularly, although they're usually resolved quite quickly as well. So overall, it's not a reason not to use Claude Code. Alright, small manufacturing business owners, how would you grow a curtain brand with a limited budget? Well, I'm not really an expert in manufacturing or curtains necessarily. I'm sure that there would be many things you would do beyond AI. I guess if I was trying to do it with a limited budget, what would I implement in terms of AI? Probably some sort of like lead gen system with AI, I guess. Connect it to some sort of like scraper, I don't know, like use Apify or something, or Exa, or what's the other one? Tavaly, you could use, I guess. Firecrawl, maybe, I don't know. Some sort of scraper that can scrape something like Google Maps, and then I guess, if you're targeting, I guess it kind of depends what type of curtains you sell. Because I was imagining, selling curtains to like hotels and that sort of stuff. So I would say like scrape all the local hotels from an area and off Google Maps, then have Codex or Claude Code do deep research on them, use something like the Apollo MCP to get some email addresses or something of people at those companies, and then do like a targeted cold email campaign. But don't just let it write kind of generic AI slops. Well, or also use AI to kind of, I don't know, make some kind of mock-up of what it would look like if they had your curtains or something like that, and then send those out and have some kind of, I like to have some fairly like self-deprecating copy written by AI when using it for things that I don't want to seem like they were mass-produced with AI. Saying stuff like, I'm sure you are inundated with a bunch of AI rubbish, something like that. Tell the AI to take the piss out of itself, basically. Anyway, as you can tell, I'm not probably going to be making a humongous curtain brand anytime soon with those ideas. If it's more like a D2C curtain brand, use like the Higgsfield MCP, make a bunch of like UGC looking content of people who just it just looks like normal people saying like, oh, I love these new curtains. Do that obviously for way cheaper than like sending your curtains to a bunch of people and asking them to put them up and film them, and then have a kind of marketing agent or something set up some kind of like marketing loop, I guess, to run those as meta ads and then review how they perform. And then there can be a self-improving, self-learning loop that looks at what type of generated videos, what type of setting it's in. You know, is it a front room, is it a back room, is it nighttime, is it daytime, who's the person, and then I guess split tests those, and then takes the learnings from those and just sort of mass produces ads with slight variation like that. That might be one way to do it. So yeah, who knows? I mean, I'm sure there's more ways beyond that, but if I had to recommend, you know, a couple of AI implementation use cases there, those might be how I would approach it. Right, to be honest, after having looked through the other questions, I think there's not really many other interesting ones in there, so I'll probably call it there for today. Hopefully that was helpful. I imagine probably the main thing to take away from this one is that I strongly hold the opinion that really you should opt to use Claude Code over Cowork as much as possible. And other than that, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please subscribe. And just to, you know, self-promote again, if you would like me to work with you, either to build your own AI operating system or to see how AI could help your business, then please get in touch through the link in the description. Or if you'd be interested in joining the school community, also check out the description. Right, thanks very much for watching, everyone. Goodbye.